Good day, viewers, and welcome to another Onside SA Soccer Show. Joining me shortly will be our UK correspondent Stevie Bram from our Fuller Studios. We will be discussing the Premiership managerial merry-go-round, a signing for Man United, and also we'll be discussing the quarterfinals of the Copa America as well as the Euro 2021. So what better than to go over to our UK man, Stevie Bram. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, Bud.
It's coming home. Is that the late number one seller this week?
Yeah, very much so, and people getting excited. And the danger is we don't get too overexcited because we're not in the final yet. We're only in the quarterfinal in a tricky game, really, against a Ukraine team that nobody fancied. So, yeah, lots of optimism, but cautious optimism, I think.
Okay, Steve, you'll kick off with the Premiership managerial merry-go-round and Crystal Palace signing Patrick Vieira. What's your opinion?
Yeah, well, that certainly came out of nowhere. His name wasn't linked over the last few weeks. And, I think it's a risky one. I think Palace fans, from what I've been reading, are not overly excited about it. I mean, we know as a player he was a legend and he's worked under, great managers, particularly sort of Arsene for many years and probably would have learned something from Guardiola. But, I think it is a gamble. He's got no managerial experience over here at all, apart from sort of Man City's sort of youth team or something. So, 2 or 3 years in the MLS for New York City and a season and a bit at Nice, I don't think necessarily qualifies for becoming a Premier League manager. Yeah. So, especially with an ageing squad and a lot of players out of contract, I think it's a risky move.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, one move I don't think's a risky move is Rafa Benitez going to Everton. I know I've got a good mate in the UK it's a questionable decision because he's a staunch Evertonian, and obviously with the Liverpool connection, he's not 100% behind it. How do you see it?
Yeah, look, I think if there wasn't that Liverpool connection, if you took it cold and said, Rafa Benitez, and you look at his track record and where he's managed and his experience, I think that most clubs would like to have him. Yeah. But I think ultimately the proof's going to be in the pudding. If he starts well, then I think Everton fans will take to him. If he doesn't, then they'll obviously be bringing up the fact that he's come across from the other side of Anfield Road. So, I think it is a good move. And when you think with some of the managers that are out there, I think he's as good as any. So, I think that it's a good fit.
Yes, I agree. And he outclosed Sir Alex at United many times when Liverpool played them. I think the blue side of Liverpool will be eventually they'll be happy as much as they're complaining at the moment. Now the other movement was Tottenham. It's a pity Paul's not here. I'd love to get his view. Nuno Espirito Santo. I'm surprised it didn't go through earlier, Steve.
Yeah, look, I mean, he obviously wasn't their first choice. I think they were looking at, I say bigger names, but sort of alternative names. And I think that he spoke with Palace, I understand. I think he was hoping he might be in the frame for the Everton job. But ultimately, I think it could be a good fit. I mean, he did exceptionally well at Wolves, with a team that wasn't fancied, to finish 7th 2 years in a row. Got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, and if it wasn't for the fact that he had Raul Jimenez badly injured for most of last season and Lo Celso without, I suppose, an adequate replacement, they probably could have done even better. So I think it's a good fit. And Tottenham fans, we know, have high expectations, but I think if they give him a chance and he'll impose his sort of style of play, I think that he could do well.
Yeah, I like the way they play, Steve. 3-5-2, everybody knows their job, and hopefully they'll play Son and Kane down the middle. I think they'll have a good season, Spurs, but as long as they keep Harry Kane. Now, is the Jadon Sancho from Dortmund and Man United, is it on? Whatever you read in the newspaper seems to contradict. I watched this morning.
It appears to be on. Okay. I don't think it's a signed, done deal yet, but it's as close as you're going to get. Okay. I think it's just a case they've agreed. I think the deal with Dortmund, and they're agreeing personal terms in principle. Yeah. I can't see it not happening. I don't think anybody else is in the frame. So I think it should be an exciting move for him to come back to the UK. Obviously he left as an unknown relatively when he went from City to Dortmund, and he's done very well out there. Yeah. And I think that he's coming back. I understand he's going to be given the number 7 shirt, following in some big names. So I think again the thing is, he went to Dortmund without any pressure. He's now going to come back with a big price tag.
Yeah.
So there might be pressure on his shoulders, but hopefully he'll be given a free rein to play. And I think that's one of the 3 or 4 big names that United need to get themselves in contention again.
Yeah, if ever there was one thing we lacked was a creative right-hand side player. Wan-Bissaka, in my opinion, doesn't cross the ball as well. And I can see what Ollie's doing. For years, United had Canchelsis on the right wing. We always had creative right-footed players. And I think it's a good signing, even though the price is way out. I read Scott Parker has gone to Bournemouth. Steve, have you guys got any Arna replacement at Fulham?
Well, we have been in talks with a number of managers, I understand. But the one that's come out last night, and I understand that this could be a done deal, is Marco Silva.
Okay, Watford Everton manager, the Portuguese guy.
Yeah, ex sort of Hull, Watford and Everton.
Yeah.
So, quite interesting but he's got, we were talking evidently, or there were lots of rumours about Steve Cooper at Swansea, Chris Wilder at ex-Sheffield United, who could have been a good fit for us. But Marco Silva, I think maybe they got an eye on the future a little bit, because if he can get us up, he's managing the Premier League. Mixed fortunes, but I think when he went to Hull and almost kept them up, did well at Watford to start, and then the same at Everton. So he's got experience. He likes to play an attacking style. So I think it could be a good move.
As long as you keep a lot of the players that you got on loan from last season, I think you'll be fine. I actually like him.
Well, I don't think any of the loan players will be staying. I think they're pretty much, the loan players have all gone back. We signed it's keeping the players the rest of the squad intact. And then adding, I don't think we need to add too many players to the squad, because it's relatively strong. We've got 1 or 2 coming back from loan. So, I think the FFP is obviously an issue in the Championship. So, but I think we were paying some high wages to some of those loan players. Yeah. So I think that will help. But we'll see.
Steve, on to the Euros. Before we go into the 4 quarterfinalists, I just want to ask you about the teams that disappointed me, and the biggest one was France. How do you see them? Yeah,
very much so. I mean, it's interesting. The first game, they were fairly comfortable, win over Germany. Then the next game was the surprise. They really were a little bit, almost, I think, they just felt that the Hungary game was going to be too easy. And Hungary took them by surprise. I think the fact that Hungary were playing at home in front of the best part of 60,000, I think, gave them that impetus. And then against Portugal, it's a game they could have won but could have lost. So they went into the knockout stage, probably not quite as the favourites. But again, against Switzerland, I thought they were really poor for the first hour. Switzerland, if they'd scored that penalty, could have just gone on and won it comfortably. Yeah. And then France got back in the game, and for that 10 minutes scored those 3 goals, and you thought, that's it, it's all over. And then they just, I don't know what they were trying to do, but I think they just thought it was game over and they'd won it. And I don't think they reckoned on Switzerland throwing everything at them. And fair play to the Swiss, they were superb and probably deserved to win in the end.
No, deserved to win over the 90 minutes, definitely. Just think, there's a bit of the Harlem Globetrotters about this France team. There's a lot of great players, and then there's a lot of guys think they're great. But I felt for Pogba, even though he did cost his 3rd goal, because I thought he was the best player. But, they were my pick from the start. All our doubles went into them and couldn't sleep. The other team I was really disappointed was the Netherlands. I know they didn't do badly in the group stage, but what De Ligt did was unforgivable.
Yeah, it was, and they got caught out, and that changed the game. And I mean, just before that, they could have scored. I mean, they had the 1-on-1. They would have scored. They probably would have gone through. They didn't have a particularly hard group, which they got out of, but they've not been. Their form has been relatively indifferent in the lead up to this. So I don't think anybody had expectations that they could win the tournament, but I think they probably thought they'd go a bit further than they did.
Yeah, I agree. And the Germans, got beat 6-0 by Spain, lost to North Macedonia. I know they played well against Portugal, but they had the chances against England, but I just thought they could have been a little bit more adventurous, even though England...
Yeah, I mean, look, both teams, to a certain extent, were set up to cancel each other out. And in fact, the first sort of 10-15 minutes of it, England looked quite nervy to me.
Yeah, they did.
And the Germans were playing the ball around quite nicely. But ultimately, they created very few chances. You had the Werner chance in the first half, and then obviously Havertz had a good shot that's saved by Pickford. But they didn't create much else until obviously you had the Müller miss.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, he probably would have buried it. In fact, when he hit it, it looked like it was just going to nestle in the far corner. But that changed the game, didn't it? And I think that after that, they really didn't create much at all.
Yeah, I think they need a major rethink in the German camp. Steve, kicks off on Friday. We're going to go into the 4 quarterfinals. The first game on Friday, Switzerland, Spain. Can the Swiss cause another upset?
Well, who would have given them much of a chance against France? So I thought Spain, in patches, played well the other night, but they were, at one point I thought when Croatia got it back to 3-3, I thought, right, they're going to go on and win this. But actually they stepped up in extra time. I think it will be close. I just wonder how much is taken out of both teams. I fancy Spain. I think they've got the players to do it. But the Swiss, I was very impressed with Severovic and Bolo up front. I mean, they're a real handful, and I think they'll have a go. But defensively, I just think the Swiss will leak goals. So I think it'll be close, but I think Spain will edge it.
All right. Now I can't believe they're betting in the next game. Belgium are 23-10. To get the better of Italy. How do you see that going?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one. I mean, I thought that Belgium played well at times. I mean, they weren't under huge pressure. I thought Italy, to me, they didn't play that well against Austria. I thought Austria played really well and were unlucky. Obviously, had the goal disallowed, marginal that could have won the game. In extra time, he swapped it around and they were worthy winners. But I'm surprised that we've got sort of Italy as favourites. So I just, but they are such a good tournament team. But I still fancy Belgium. I know that defensively they're not great, but they've got the players that with Lukaku and De Bruyne. I think they can unlock the Italian defence. I think it'll be close, but I just fancy Belgium to nick it.
Yeah, so do I. I saw 11-10 Belgium to qualify. So while I like the 23-10, I'm going to be taking 11-10 Belgium to qualify. Now the next game, the Czech Republic against Denmark, 2 teams that I don't even think they would expect it to have got this far. Even money Denmark, Steve, isn't that a bit short?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they've played the last couple of games. They've been good to watch. Score goals, just had a go, and players who on the face of it, you look at their team and think, well, man for man, they're not as good as other clubs, other countries, but they just seem to have. And I think maybe the Eriksson situation, it's just they're being swept on a tide of emotion at the moment. So I think it'll be close. I mean, the Czechs, I thought they played very well against the Netherlands, and in the end, worthy winners. And I thought they played okay against England. They weren't. They're not a bad side at all, and they've got. But I just fancy Denmark to edge it.
Okay, and last but not least, England against the Ukraine. I know 4-10 is very short, but surely they've got to beat the Ukraine, Steve.
Well, you'd expect so. I mean, I was impressed with the way Ukraine played the other night.
Yes, so was I.
Sweden had some chances, and in a normal time, Sweden probably had the chances to win it. But Ukraine, got some, tried to play football, and I think they've got nothing to lose. They've never been this far in a tournament. The pressure is sort of off them. They're going to be playing in Rome. There'll be a lot more. I suspect there'll be a lot more Ukrainians and a lot of the Italians won't be supporting England. So, it's going to be a real away game. But I think, you've got to fancy England whether or not he's going to change tactics a bit and be a little bit more adventurous.
I think
you might not need to have a 5 at the back effectively against Ukraine. But I think if four clean sheets, we can't argue with that. I think if they keep another clean sheet on Saturday night, they'll go through.
Okay, Steve, I've got your 4 winners now. I've got to ask you for your semi-finalists. Well, who's going to be? Belgium plays Spain in the semi-final. Who do you fancy to go through?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. I fancy Belgium of the 2. But then Belgium are sort of serial chokers a little bit, aren't they, in big tournaments recently? And I think for some of their players, this could be their last big tournament. So, I still fancy Belgium.
Okay. If Italy had to get through, do you think the Italians would beat Spain?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the winners of that game will get through to the final. Okay. And it's a huge game. I mean, when you look at the other half of the draw, I mean, Belgium, Italy, either one could be a finalist.
Yeah. And England get through the final, beat Denmark in the other semi-final?
Look, you would expect suspect so. On paper, it would be at Wembley in front of 60,000.
Yeah.
So, you know, home advantage you'd think would count for something. You know, they've obviously beaten the Czech Republic, and you know, I think they probably feel that they can beat Denmark. But you know, it's going to take one game at a time. I think if we can get through the Ukraine game, I think people will fancy our chances against either of those two. But again, you never know with England. You know, they have the you know, they've thrown things away when you expect them to go through. But this is a great opportunity, it really is.
Stephen, the outright betting, I've seen England at 19-10. You think that's a good price?
Yeah, I think so. Because if they can get through this game, you know, they play their next one or two games at Wembley. Yeah. So, you know, definitely, I think the home advantage. I mean, the crowd were really up for it on Tuesday night. You know, all the players said how much it sort of gave them a lift. So it's going to be very exciting, tense but exciting.
Yeah, let's hope they can get a result in Rome. Steve, on to the Copa America. You know, we haven't got it in South Africa. I'm sure you've got it in the UK.
Yeah.
Quarter-final stage, 10 teams, 4 have to go through, obviously. The first game is on Friday, Peru against Paraguay. Have you been following much of it?
This is quite an even game, I think. They both sort of did okay in their group, sort of lost the games you expect them to lose, but both won a game. Peru had a good win. Paraguay had a good win against Chile. Peru had a good win against Colombia. Yeah. I think Peru might be just edge it.
Yeah, I think they'll go through. I was surprised at the betting, but the draw at 19-10 is obviously a player. Brazil, and I cannot believe that Fred has been one of their best players. Surely they've got to be too good for Chile, especially at home?
Yeah, I mean, Chile, you know, are a decent side, but been a little bit disappointing. They had a big defeat the other night, or surprise defeat the other night. Brazil, look, they're playing at home. The tournament's been hosted in Brazil,
yeah.
You know, even though it's meant to be in Colombia and Argentina. But, you know, incredibly, they swapped it to Brazil because of coronavirus, yet Brazil has the second worst outbreaks of coronavirus in the world. But, you know, they got home advantage. They've had a couple of big wins. I think they'll be too strong.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, a tightest game of the lot is Uruguay-Colombia. I fancy Uruguay. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Colombia had a sort of mixed bag of results, and you know, Uruguay have got, you know, obviously got names that we know like Cavani and Suarez, and you know, I think they will be just a bit too strong. So I fancy Uruguay to go through.
Yeah, and Lionel Messi and his Argentinian side, surely got to be too good for an Ecuadorian team who've drawn 3 and lost 1.
I mean, Ecuador just creeped through, didn't win a game, drew 3. You know, Argentina warmed up nicely the other night. He got 2 goals. I think they'll be too strong.
Yeah, if you had to pick a winner between Brazil and Argentina, because obviously finishing top of the groups, they have been separated.
Yeah, I mean, goodness knows how many times they played each other in finals over there. You know, it's going to be played at the Maracana.
Yeah.
You know, Brazil probably will be favourites at home. You know, Neymar against Messi. I mean, it's you know, it doesn't get much bigger than that, does it? And South American footballers. I'd probably just fancy Brazil. Yeah.
Well, it's strange to see it that Lionel Messi hasn't won a trophy for Argentina. So this is another great chance for him. Steve, last but not least, it's obviously what our punters wait for. I need your best bet, and I think I know who your value bet's going to be, but who's your best bet?
I'm going to go for Denmark. I think that, you know, of those 4 ties, I think, I mean, England are too short.
Yeah.
So I think sort of evens, you know, it might be a bit short, but it's probably about right for them. And, well, my value bet has got to be Belgium.
Yeah,
you know,
I totally agree, yeah.
You know, I think it'll be hard, you know, at those sort of odds. It's, you know, I think you've got to look at that and think, you know, it's a good bet.
Yeah, I just think that everyone, the bettings fluctuated because De Bruyne and Hazard are injured. But to me, Hazard's done nothing, and playing with their system, I think they'll be better with his brother playing, even though he scored the goal as well as Carrasco.
His brother got a cracking goal.
Yeah.
Look, I think if De Bruyne, you know, is available, you know, it changes games. And Lukaku is strong.
Yeah.
Having given him a chance. So, you know, he plays in Italy. He knows some of these players. I don't think they're going to fancy, you know, trying to stop him. So I think that's all set. That for me, that's the game of the round. You know, apart from obviously England, but that's the game of the round.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll be taking 11-10 Belgium to go through. I can't believe they're 23-10 to win in 90 minutes. Steve, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be WhatsApping over the weekend. Stay safe. We'll speak to you next week.
Quite a few they'll come thick and fast over the weekend, those games.
All right, Steve. Take care. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Bud. Bye.
All the best. That's our UK correspondent, Stevie Braham, in our Fulham studios. We now go on to our Soccer 6 and Soccer 10 exotic bets for the weekend. And our first one, I'm bankering Boda Glimt to beat Viking FK at home. I'm going the field in the IFK Norrköping versus Malmo top of the league game in Sweden. I think St. John will be win and draw at home against Keflavik. Breidablik look an absolute certainty to beat bottom of the league Leikner Reykjavik. Degerfors to avoid defeat at home against Östersund. And I'm going the field in the Czech Republic versus Denmark clash 2-1-6. On to our second Soccer 6 on Saturday. I'm going the field in the Czech Republic versus Denmark game. I think England will be too good for the Ukraine. I'm going the field in the Morocco derby between Raja Casablanca and Wydad Casablanca. I don't see Columbus Crew losing at home to the New England Revolution. I'm bankering Atletico Paranaense to be too good for Fortaleza. And I'm going Corinthians win and draw at home against Internacional 2-1-6. On to our Soccer 10 for the weekend. I'm going the field in the Czech Republic versus Denmark match. I think England will be too good for the Ukraine and Rome. I'm going the field in the Raja Casablanca, Wydad Casablanca match. I don't see Columbus Crew losing to New England Revolution, and I'm bankering Atletico Paranaense to be too good for Fortaleza. On to our second page, where I'm going Corinthians to avoid defeat at home against Internacional, and I'm bankering Orlando City to be too good for the New York Red Bulls, as well as Minnesota United to be too good for San Jose Earthquakes. I don't see Philadelphia Union losing at Nashville, and I'm going Real Salt Lake to avoid defeat at home against Los Angeles FC 288. On to our budgies bets for the weekend, and I'm going Belgium to beat Italy. I'm going England to beat the Ukraine. I'm going over 2.5 goals in the Switzerland-Spain game, and I think both teams to score in the Czech Republic-Denmark match, 3,500 to 200. Our Copa America quad, I think Argentina will beat Ecuador, Uruguay will beat Colombia, I think Brazil will beat Chile by more than 1 goal, and I'm going both teams to score in the Peru-Paraguay fixture, 2,700 to 200. On to our Sweden, where the Allsvenskan starts again this weekend. I'm going ARK Stockholm to be too good for BK Häcken. I don't see Mjällby losing at Sirius. Mjällby to win or draw, and ending with over 2.5 goals in the Djurgårdens Örebro and IFK Elfsborg matches, 2,400 to 200. The American MLS, I've got a treble for the weekend. I'm going Orlando City to beat New York Red Bulls. My best bet of the weekend, the LA Galaxy to beat Sporting Kansas City. And having watched Minnesota last week, I think they will beat San Jose by more than 1 goal. 10 to 1, 2,200 is our bet. Our both teams to score sides are Varbergsbois and Kalmar, Hammarby Halmstad and IFK Elfsborg, all in the Swedish league. And the other two are Colorado Seattle and Montreal into Miami. 2,900 to 200. And our Collis King 6 on Ixa. I'm going Spain to beat Switzerland, Argentina to beat Ecuador, Brazil to beat Chile, Minnesota to beat San Jose, the LA Galaxy to beat Sporting Kansas City, and Djurgårdens to be too good for Örebro on Monday. 3,300 to 200. Thank you for listening and watching our Onside SA Soccer Show, and please remember to stay onside.